book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe. Today I will be going through a few books that I am hoping to get to this fall season. So I do consider myself a bit of a seasonal reader. I'm not too firm with that, but in the fall I definitely consider it, a more cozy time of year and a more spooky time of year. So I will probably be going more for some fantasies and some thrillers, which is mostly what this pile consists of. I think I have about 11 books here that I'm going to try to get to. I can't say how strongly I will prioritize them. I mean, it really does come down a little bit to what my TBR game allows me to do, but these are just some books on my shelf that stood out to me that I'm hoping to get to in the next couple of months. So I consider fall to be late September, October, and November. So those would be the months in which I would be more likely to reach for one of these books. All right, so we will jump right in to book number 1, and that is Recursion by Blake Crouch. I read Dark Matter by him earlier this year and absolutely loved it. He seems to write sci-fi thrillers. This one, I didn't read the full synopsis because I didn't want to go too much into what the book is about. I want to go in a little bit blind, but it seems that there is a sort of plague going around that is causing people to go mad because they are remembering things that never happened to them. So I definitely want to get to the next Blake Crouch book in the next couple months if possible, especially because I got his newest book in Book of the Month. So I want to make my way through both of those, maybe even by the end of the year. All right, so the next book is a book that I probably picked up at like a library sale. For a while I was buying a lot of like mass paperbacks and I haven't actually got to any of them. So I went ahead and grabbed one of them, Trouble with Vampires by Lindsay Sands. This is just a romance between a vampire and I think a historian. I don't know too much about it, but I figured there's vampires in the title and I need to start reading those books because they're just sitting there at the bottom of my cart. So I figured, this would be the first domino to maybe get the ball rolling on me making my way through those. So I have to admit, mostly the fact that this is about vampires is why I'm hoping to maybe pick it up this fall. Next, another book about vampires. I'm hoping to maybe read this in October. I watched the movie for the first time last year and wasn't overly impressed, but my mom did say that the book was better, and that is Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. The only book that I ever attempted to read by Anne Rice was her erotica about like Beauty and the Beast, which was like super rapey. So I probably got through like 10 pages of that and then literally threw it in the trash. But this is practically a classic, I guess you could consider it, where I don't know if he's like a reporter or what he is interviewing a vampire who I believe got turned against his will, or maybe, I don't know, and just follows him as he struggles to be a vampire and tries to hold on to, I'm assuming, like his humanity, because vampires can be kind of evil. So I mean, it's not, oh wow, that writing is like pretty small and there's like no margins. I was gonna say it's a relatively short book, but still, it's one of those classics that I want to go ahead and give a shot, and Halloween is the time to do it. So the next book that I want to read is The Silence of the Girls. This is a Greek retelling by Pat Barker. I think Briaces is the primary character in this. I haven't heard much about this for a while. I think it was kind of popular for a bit. But I remember when I did my reread of Achilles earlier this year that I was really intrigued by Briaces. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading a book from her point of view, and of course a more feminist retelling of the Iliad. Also, this cover just has like super fall colors going on, so it definitely stood out to me for the fall TBR. So the next book I believe is on my 22 books to read in 2022, and I think it's also on my 5-star prediction list, and that is The Martian by Andy Weir. I am definitely really interested in his work. I've heard really great things, especially about his Hail Mary, I think it's called. So I'm really wanting to get into that. I've been getting into sci-fi a lot. I heard that this book has some really good humor and that the sci-fi aspects or the sciencey aspects aren't too overwhelming. So I'm definitely hoping to read that sometime this year. And preferably maybe even in the next few months. We are following a character who his team thinks that he died, I think maybe in like a storm or something on Mars, and so they head off to Earth only to find out that he is in fact alive and now needs to find a way to survive a few months on desolate Mars while his team turns around to come and rescue him. Up next, we have another 5-star prediction. I'm definitely hoping to get through all of those this year. And that is The Witch King by H.E. Edgman. This is a queer fantasy, and we follow a trans male main character who is a wizard or a witch. Well, I guess I'm witch. I'm assuming he's a witch. And he is to be betrothed to his best friend who is a fae king. And I believe that it's this dude right here. I think he has like an accident with his magic, and so he escapes the Fey world to go live among the mortals, and his partner comes after him to come, drag him back kicking and screaming. It seems like it's a friends to enemies to lovers kind of book, and I think I've heard good things about it. I think the second book some people didn't like as much, but it seems this one went over pretty well, so I'm really excited to finally read it. All right, next we have a Japanese thriller, I believe, and that is Out by Natsu Kirino. I believe this follows some housewives, one of whom ends up killing her husband, and they go ahead and cover it up. And I'm assuming maybe they start killing even more people, or they get in over their head and start, interacting with dangerous people. I don't know too much about it, both with thrillers. It's always nice to go in a little bit more blind. I think I got this book last year at half price books, so I'm really hoping to be able to read it this year in the fall. All right, so the next book is also on my 22 books to read in 2022 list. It is the only nonfiction on this list and on that list, and that is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. So this follows Chanel, or it's her story about the, was it Stanford rape trials. She was raped by one of the members of their swim team, and throughout the trial, I believe, was known as Jane or Emily Doe. Yeah, Emily Doe. And she has now come out with her story. So this is obviously going to be incredibly moving and probably difficult to read, so I was kind of saving it for when I was done with school so that I could really focus on it and give it the time that it deserves, and annotate it, things like that. So hopefully sometime this fall, I will be able to sit down with this. The next book is, of course, a thriller, The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I think she's a relatively popular thriller writer. I've never read anything by her. I just happened to pick up this book because I think I found it probably at Value Village. Either that, or I doubt I would have gotten it at Half Price Books because their hardbacks are still kind of expensive, to be honest. So I'm not 100% sure of the synopsis. Like I said, with thrillers, I don't look into them too deeply. It seems like a woman trying to find out her family. I don't know if she was given up for adoption at some point. Finds out that she is the sole inheritor of her old family's manor, and that some sort of mass murder kind of weird event happened there a few years ago. And I'm assuming that weird stuff starts happening again, or that she tries to solve what killed all those people back then. But I am intrigued to see if Lisa Jewell is a thriller author that I will want to get into. All right, and the second to last book is a book of the month book. In fact, the last two are book of the month books because I'm trying to get through those a little bit. They've really been piling up. And this one is called The Collective by Allison Galen. From what I remember, I'm trying to think, a mother, her daughter was killed, possibly sexually assaulted. I don't know if there was sexual assault involved, but a privileged young man apparently is the one she believed is responsible. And no offense to privileged young men, I'm assuming if you murdered someone, you probably sexually assaulted them as well. She seems to think that justice for her daughter was never received, and she finds herself in a group of women who have had similar experiences, and I believe they try to get revenge, and things probably escalate and get a little bit out of control. I think I haven't heard much about this, and what I have heard, I think it was a little underwhelming. So I'm going in with slightly reduced expectations, but I do like a revenge story against privileged people. All right, and the final book is a book that I can't believe I haven't gotten to yet. I've been meaning to get to it for, quite a while, as with many books I own, and that is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a Romeo and Juliet inspired story set in Japan, maybe. And it follows two mafia families, and Romeo and Juliet are obviously from opposing sides, I believe. I believe there is some sort of plague going around where people are like tearing their throats out. So the two organizations, I'm assuming, are having to work together to go ahead and not have everyone die or something. I'm a little nervous going into this because earlier this year I read the Greenbone Saga, which is a East Asian inspired mafia family as well, and that was just so incredible. The character development and the world building was stellar, that if I in any way try to compare these two, I may be left very disappointed. So I'm definitely gonna have to just completely try to separate those two stories. All right, guys, so those were the 11 books that I will try to prioritize this fall. Let me know down below, what kind of books do you like to read in the fall? Are you, a seasonal reader, or do you just read whatever, whenever? As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!